The atmosphere around Rangers feels anything but quiet right now, and there is a real sense that things are starting to move with intent, not just for the present campaign, but also with an eye firmly fixed on what lies ahead. When you look at the noise coming out of Ibrox over the last hours, it is clear that this is not just another routine update, but a moment where decisions are being made that could shape the squad in the months to come. There is a mix of certainty and anticipation, with one situation already sealed and another hovering in that familiar space between strong reports and cautious optimism. Let us start with what is already concrete, because amid all the speculation that naturally surrounds Rangers, there is now official confirmation of one deal that removes any doubt. The club has agreed terms that see Danilo move out on loan until the end of the season, with an option included that could make the transfer permanent. This was a situation many supporters had been tracking closely, especially after seeing him abroad and wondering why nothing had been finalized immediately after the January window closed. For a short time, there was confusion and plenty of questions, but that has now been cleared up. This is not rumor, not suggestion, and not hopeful thinking. It is a completed agreement, acknowledged directly by the club, and it marks a clear step in reshaping the squad balance as the season heads into its decisive stretch. From a Rangers perspective, this move makes sense on several levels. Danilo is going to a league where he can play regularly, regain rhythm, and show exactly what he can offer in a consistent environment. For the club, it reduces congestion in certain areas while keeping future options open, thanks to the structure of the deal. There is no sense of burning bridges here, only a pragmatic decision that suits all parties involved. It also highlights how deliberate the club has been in managing exits, not just focusing on who comes in, but also on ensuring that departures are handled with clarity and purpose rather than haste. Alongside this confirmed business, there is another story that has caught the attention of Rangers fans, one that points more towards the future than the immediate present. Reports from Italy, echoed by sources closer to home, suggest that discussions have taken place regarding a potential move for Jens Dau, with the idea being to secure an agreement ahead of the summer. According to what is being said, talks between the clubs have progressed significantly, and there is even talk that an agreement is close, with only the players' side needing final alignment. It is important to stress that this is being framed as business for next season rather than an imminent arrival, which explains why nothing official has been announced yet. As always with situations like this, a degree of caution is necessary. Rangers supporters have seen enough transfer stories over the years to know that not every strong report becomes reality. Even so, the consistency of these claims, coming from multiple directions, makes this one difficult to ignore entirely. If the club is already planning for the summer window while still in the thick of a domestic push, it suggests a level of strategic thinking that goes beyond short-term fixes. It speaks to a desire to build continuity, ensuring that when the next season arrives, Rangers are not scrambling but are already several steps ahead. What makes this period particularly interesting is how it ties into the broader picture painted by the manager when speaking after the window closed. There was a clear sense of satisfaction, not just with the names that came through the door, but with how the entire process was handled. The emphasis was placed on quality over quantity, on reducing numbers while increasing competition and standards within the squad. This is not about filling shirts, but about creating genuine battles for places, where no position feels settled and every player knows that performance is non-negotiable. The arrival of new faces late in the window underlined that point. The manager spoke openly about the long process involved in convincing his latest signing, highlighting how closely the club had tracked him over weeks and months. There was an appreciation for the player's physicality, his ability to press, his threat in the air, and his contribution in goals and assists. These are not random attributes being ticked off a list, but specific qualities Rangers feel they need to push on in the second half of the season. At the same time, there was an honest acknowledgement that adaptation takes time, especially when stepping into a new league with its own demands and intensity. What stands out most from those comments is the sense of collective planning. Decisions are not being made in isolation, driven by individual preference or impulse. Instead, there is a repeated emphasis on togetherness, on conversations within the club about how best to improve the group as a whole. That approach becomes even more significant when considering how important it was for Rangers to retain key players despite external interest. Keeping hold of individuals who could easily have been tempted away sends a strong message about ambition and belief in what can still be achieved this season. This balance between stability and renewal is crucial as Rangers look ahead to a demanding run of fixtures. The squad now has depth across almost every position, with genuine competition that should push standards higher on the training ground and, ultimately, on match days. No one can afford to become comfortable, and that internal pressure is often what separates a good side from one capable of sustaining a title challenge deep into the campaign. The manager made it clear that this kind of challenge is exactly what the group needs, especially after a period earlier in the season where confidence was fragile and performances were inconsistent. There is also a clear belief that the environment around the team has shifted. Where there were once doubts and hesitations, there is now a growing sense of players supporting one another, helping new arrivals settle, and driving the collective forward. This cultural change matters just as much as any tactical tweak or transfer decision. It creates the conditions where young players with potential can step up without being overwhelmed, and where experienced figures can lead by example rather than carrying the burden alone. All of this feeds into the broader narrative that Rangers are not simply reacting to circumstances, but actively shaping their path. The confirmed loan move, the reported summer planning, and the confidence expressed in the current squad all point towards a club that understands where it is and where it wants to go. With the domestic race still finely poised and expectations as high as ever, every decision now carries extra weight, and the choices being made suggest that Rangers are determined to approach this next phase with clarity, conviction, and a clear sense of direction. As the focus shifts from the mechanics of the transfer window to what actually happens on the pitch, there is a growing feeling that Rangers are entering a phase where preparation meets opportunity. The second half of the season always carries its own tension, but this time there is an added layer of expectation because the squad now looks different in both structure and mentality. The manager's recent comments were revealing, not because they promised anything dramatic, but because they showed a quiet confidence rooted in how the group has evolved over time rather than overnight. One of the strongest themes to emerge was the importance of competition within the squad. Rangers now have genuine depth in most areas, and that changes everything in terms of daily standards. Training sessions become sharper, selections become harder to predict, and players understand that reputation alone will not guarantee a place. This kind of internal pressure is often uncomfortable, but it is also essential for a club with title ambitions. When every position has at least two viable options, the overall level naturally rises, and complacency is quickly exposed. That competitive edge is especially important in attacking areas, where expectations are always highest. Goals are currency at Rangers, and anyone stepping into the forward line knows that contribution is measured not just in effort, but in tangible impact. The manager spoke about the balance between patience and readiness, acknowledging that some players arrive with momentum while others need time to adjust. What matters is that the options are there, allowing tactical flexibility depending on the opponent and the moment within a match. Sometimes that means playing with one striker, sometimes with two, and sometimes changing shape entirely to suit the flow of the game. Another key point was the value of recent match fitness among new arrivals. January signings often come with question marks around sharpness, but having players who have been playing regular minutes reduces that risk. It gives the coaching staff confidence that these players can be called upon quickly rather than being eased in slowly. In a tight domestic race, that readiness can be decisive, especially when injuries, suspensions, or fatigue start to test the squad's resilience. Beyond the tactical side, there was also a clear emphasis on mentality. Rangers went through a difficult spell earlier in the season where confidence dipped and performances reflected that uncertainty. According to the manager, the difference now is the collective strength of the group. Players are no longer isolated in their struggles, but supported by teammates who are growing together. This shared responsibility creates a healthier environment, one where pressure is distributed rather than concentrated, and where setbacks are processed as a group rather than individually. This shift in mentality also affects how young players are integrated. Bringing in talent with high potential is one thing, but giving them the platform to succeed is another. The current atmosphere at the club appears far more conducive to development, with experienced players setting standards and providing guidance. That kind of environment can accelerate growth, turning raw ability into consistent performance. It also reduces the risk of young players being overwhelmed by expectation, which is always intense at a club like Rangers. There was an interesting comparison made when discussing one of the newer attacking options, drawing parallels with established names from the past. While such comparisons should always be treated carefully, they hint at the belief within the club that this is a player capable of reaching a high level if developed correctly. The key word here is patience. Not every signing needs to make an immediate impact to be successful. Sometimes the real value emerges over time, as the player adapts to the league, the tempo, and the demands of playing for a club where every match is scrutinized. What also stands out is how closely the club appears to be aligning short-term objectives with long-term planning. The mention of summer preparations, even while the current season is still very much alive, suggests that Rangers are trying to avoid the cycle of constant rebuilding. Instead of waiting for gaps to appear, they are attempting to anticipate needs and address them early. This proactive approach can provide continuity, allowing new signings to slot into an existing framework rather than forcing immediate overhauls. Retention has played a crucial role in this strategy. Interest from elsewhere is inevitable when players perform well, but choosing to stand firm sends a powerful message both internally and externally. It reinforces the idea that Rangers are not a stepping stone but a destination with its own ambitions. For the squad, it builds trust, showing that the club believes in the group it has assembled and is willing to back it through the most important part of the season. As the fixtures continue to come thick and fast, the real test will be consistency. The tools now appear to be in place, from squad depth to tactical options and a more robust mentality. The challenge is to translate all of that into performances that deliver results week after week. There will be setbacks, as there always are, but the difference now is the sense that Rangers have the structure to absorb those moments without losing direction. Every decision made in recent weeks seems to feed into this bigger picture. The confirmed departures, the carefully chosen arrivals, and the reported groundwork for future windows all point towards a club that is thinking beyond the next match without losing focus on it. In Scottish football, where margins are often slim and momentum can shift quickly, that balance between immediate urgency and long-term vision can be the difference between coming up short and pushing all the way. Rangers now find themselves at that crossroads, with the rest of the season set to reveal just how far this evolving squad can go. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers of unrest are swirling through Ibrox, as insiders hint at a possible mutiny brewing among the Rangers squad. According to sources close to the club, a faction of seasoned players reportedly confronted manager RÖHL in the locker room, voicing frustrations that have long simmered beneath the surface. "Stop treating us like bairns," one anonymous player is said to have shouted, echoing a sentiment that some believe has been quietly festering for weeks. The incident, described by those familiar with the situation as tense and unprecedented in recent club history, has sparked speculation that the relationship between the manager and his senior squad members is strained at best. Observers note that RÖHL's strict approach, while perhaps well-intentioned, may not sit easily with veterans accustomed to a more collaborative atmosphere. One source suggested that these players feel undervalued and constrained, craving more autonomy on and off the pitch. Fans and pundits alike have been quick to dissect the implications. Could this confrontation signal a deeper schism within Ibrox's dressing room? Or is it merely a heated exchange blown out of proportion by insider chatter? Some argue that experienced squads often test the boundaries of a manager's authority, and that RÖHL's style may simply be clashing with the club's established culture. Others warn that if the tension isn't managed carefully, it could affect performances on the pitch and even provoke further unrest. The club has yet to release a formal statement, leaving supporters to speculate on what this might mean for the season ahead. Social media has been ablaze with reactions, ranging from calls for calm and unity to fiery criticism of managerial tactics. Meanwhile, insiders insist the situation remains fluid, with the potential for reconciliation if dialogue between RÖHL and his veteran players is handled tactfully. What's certain is that the atmosphere at Ibrox is charged. Rumors of locker room friction are nothing new in football, but few incidents have captured attention quite like this alleged standoff. As fans await clarity, the story continues to grow, fed by whispers in corridors, hushed conversations, and the ever-present scrutiny that follows a club of Rangers' stature. Whether this tension will boil over or settle quietly, only time will tell, but one thing seems clear. The battle for influence at Ibrox is far from over. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.